You are carrying strangers inside your body right now. Not bacteria, not viruses, something far older. Pieces of an ancient human species that science didn't even know existed until 2010. They are living quietly in every cell you have, copied and passed down through thousands of generations, doing things inside you that you have never once thought about. For most of recorded history, we imagined our past as a straight line. One species, one story, caveman to farmer to king to you. But in the last 15 years, geneticists have shattered that picture completely. Your DNA is not a single thread. It is a patchwork quilt, stitched together from at least 2 and possibly 4 or more different human species, most of whom you have never heard of. And at least 2 of whom we have never found a complete body for. In 2010, a team led by Svante Pääbo at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, made an announcement that changed everything we understood about what it means to be human. They had successfully sequenced DNA from a fragment of bone so small it could sit on the tip of your finger. A pinky bone, found deep inside Denisova cave, a limestone cavern high in the Altai Mountains of southern Siberia. The bone belonged to a girl. She was probably between 5 and 7 years old. She lived roughly 41,000 years ago in a world of woolly mammoths and glaciers and freezing steppe winds. But when Pääbo's team read her DNA, they found something no one expected. It did not match Neanderthals. It did not match modern humans. It was something else entirely. A third species of human, hiding in a cave in Siberia, completely invisible to the fossil record for all of human history. They named this species the Denisovans after the cave where her bone was discovered. And that was almost all they had. A pinky bone, a few teeth, a thick jawbone fragment found years later in 2019 by a Chinese research team in Baishia Karst Cave, perched on the edge of the Tibetan Plateau above 3,000 meters. Compare that to Neanderthals, where scientists have recovered remains from over 400 individual people scattered across Europe and Western Asia. Denisovans are ghosts. We know they walked this earth because their DNA survived inside living people. But their faces, their height, their skin color, the way they moved through the world, almost completely unknown. And yet their genetic legacy is staggering. If you are of European or Asian descent, roughly 1 to 4% of your DNA came from Neanderthals. That might sound small. It is not. 1 to 4% of 3.2 billion base pairs is tens of millions of genetic letters. That means in every one of your cells, there are stretches of code that were shaped inside the bodies of people who lived in Ice Age caves, who knapped flint tools by firelight, who buried their dead with wild flowers and red ochre, and who vanished from the earth roughly 40,000 years ago. If you are of Melanesian or Aboriginal Australian descent, the numbers are even more startling. Up to 5 or 6% of your genome was inherited from Denisovans. Some populations in Papua New Guinea carry even higher traces. The people living on those green tropical islands, surrounded by ocean and jungle and warm sunlight, are walking around with the largest known percentage of Denisovan ancestry on the entire planet. David Reich, a population geneticist at Harvard University, has spent over a decade mapping these ancient genetic signatures. His work, built on the landmark 2010 Denisovan study and expanded through hundreds of subsequent papers in his 2018 book, Who We Are and How We Got Here, showed that the story of human DNA is not a clean family tree. It is a braided river. Multiple streams of ancient humanity flowed together, separated and flowed together again. Each merge left its mark. Each mark survived inside the people born thousands of years later. So let's reconstruct what actually happened when these different species of human encountered each other. Imagine you are standing on a wide, windswept plain in what is now Romania, roughly 40,000 years ago. The air is sharp and cold. There are no cities, no roads, no fences. Just open steppes stretching to the horizon, scattered groves of birch and pine, and the slow, heavy shapes of woolly mammoths moving across the grass in single file. A small group walks toward you. They look human. 2 arms, 2 legs, upright posture, but their skulls are different. Wider, flatter, heavy brow ridges that cast shadows over deep-set eyes. Their bodies are thick and dense with muscle. These are Neanderthals. They have been living in Europe and Western Asia for over 300,000 years, far longer than your species has existed on this planet. They make sophisticated tools. They control fire. They care for their sick and injured. And at some point in the dim flickering light of a rock shelter or beside a frozen riverside camp, they had children with your ancestors, children who survived, children whose children survived. and so the code passed forward one generation at a time into you. In fact, in 2018, Svante Pääbo's team made another discovery that made this concrete. They found a bone fragment in Denisova cave belonging to a girl whose mother was Neanderthal and whose father was Denisovan, a first-generation hybrid, a child of two different species of human. Her existence proved that these meetings were not rare flukes. They happened, and the evidence of them is sitting in your cells right now. Now imagine a completely different scene. You are crouched inside a shallow rock shelter high on the Tibetan plateau. The altitude is punishing, over 4,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin, freezing, and every breath feels half empty, like your lungs cannot quite fill no matter how deeply you inhale. The people living here have adapted to this extreme altitude in a way that defies easy explanation. Most modern humans who travel to these heights develop altitude sickness within hours. These people have thrived here for tens of thousands of years. How? A gene called EPAS1, which regulates the body's production of red blood cells in low-oxygen environments. In 2014, a geneticist named Emilia Huerta Sanchez and her team at the University of California, Berkeley, published a discovery in the journal Nature that stunned the scientific world. The Tibetan variant of EPAS1 did not evolve inside modern humans. It was inherited from Denisovans. The people living on the highest plateau on Earth, the rooftop of the world, survived there in part because an ancient ghost population, known almost entirely from a single pinky bone, gave them the genetic tools to breathe where others simply could not. But Denisovans and Neanderthals are not the only ghosts hiding in your DNA. In 2020, a team led by Arun Durvasula and Sriram Sankararaman at the University of California, Los Angeles, published a study in Science Advances that identified something far more mysterious. By analyzing the genomes of modern West African populations, including the Yoruba, Mendi, and Gambian Mandinka, they found that between 2 and 19% of their ancestry came from an unknown archaic human population. A population that split from the human lineage before Neanderthals even existed. A population from which no one has ever found a single bone. No skull, no jaw, no tooth, not one fragment of any kind. They exist only as faint statistical shadows buried in the mathematics of living people's DNA. These are true ghost populations, not poorly documented, not overlooked somewhere in a museum basement, completely invisible to archaeology. The only evidence that they ever existed, that they walked and hunted and raised children and looked up at the same stars you see tonight, is a whisper in the genetic code of people alive right now, more than 50,000 years later. We do not know what they looked like. We do not know what they called themselves. We do not know how they died. We only know they were real, because their fingerprints are all over your genome. And these ancient genes are not museum pieces collecting dust in your chromosomes. They are doing things inside your body right now, today, this very second. Your immune system is one of the biggest examples. A 2011 study published in Science by Laurent Abiracht and Peter Parham at Stanford University found that a family of immune genes called HLA, the human leukocyte antigen system, which teaches your body to recognize and destroy invading pathogens, was significantly shaped by interbreeding with both Neanderthals and Denisovans. Some of these archaic immune variants were so effective at fighting off ancient diseases that natural selection swept them through modern human populations in just a few thousand years. You may owe your ability to survive a common infection to a Neanderthal who sheltered in a limestone cave 50,000 years ago. Your tolerance for cold may carry Neanderthal fingerprints too. A 2016 study by Michael Danneman and Janet Kelso at the Max Planck Institute found that Neanderthal gene variants associated with skin and hair pigmentation, as well as the ability to store insulating fat beneath the skin, are significantly more common in European and East Asian populations today. These variants likely helped your ancestors survive brutal winters after leaving the warm plains of Africa. Even your disease risk carries ancient echoes. Neanderthal DNA has been linked to increased susceptibility for type 2 diabetes, lupus, and Crohn's disease, but it has also been linked to enhanced resistance against certain bacterial and viral infections. It is a trade-off. A genetic bargain struck tens of thousands of years ago between two different species of human, still playing out inside your cells every single day. So the next time you think about who you are, do not picture a straight line. Picture a crowded room. A room filled with different species of human, Neanderthals, Denisovans, at least one or two completely unknown ghost populations we may never name, all reaching across the vast, dark space of tens of thousands of years to shape the person sitting here right now. You are not one thing. You have never been one thing. Your body is a living archive. Every cold winter your ancestors survived, every mountain they climbed, every plague they fought off, the strangers inside you helped make it all possible. You are a mosaic of species that no longer exist, carrying forward the best and worst of what they were. You are carrying ghosts inside your body, and they are not haunting you. They are the reason you are still here.